The refrigerant liquid is vaporized by endothermic heat in the evaporator. In order to make the evaporator efficient and small in size, the evaporator should have a high heat transfer coefficient. No droplets are allowed when the refrigerant leaves the evaporator to ensure the normal operation of the compressor. In the actual system, a gas-liquid separator is installed at the outlet of the evaporator to further protect the compressor. There are many types of evaporators, which are classified according to the degree of refrigerant filling and evaporation in the evaporator. They can be mainly divided into flooded evaporators, dry evaporators and recirculation evaporators. Dry evaporator. The evaporator in which the refrigerant is completely vaporized in the tube is called a dry evaporator. The cooled medium outside the tube is usually a cooling liquid or air. It can be divided into cooling liquid type and cooling air type according to the different objects to be cooled. Recirculating evaporator. As the name implies, the refrigerant in a recirculating evaporator needs to go through multiple cycles to fully vaporize. The two-phase mixture from the evaporation tube enters the separator to separate the vapor and liquid. The vapor is sucked into the compressor, and the liquid re-enters the evaporator to evaporate. Compared with the dry evaporator, the main advantage of the recirculation evaporator is that the inner wall of the evaporation tube is more fully wetted, so it has a high surface heat transfer coefficient. The disadvantage is that the volume is large and the demand for refrigerant is relatively large. Flooded evaporator. Flooded evaporators are widely used in refrigerators. The evaporator has a compact structure, good heat transfer effect, and is easy to install. The refrigerant evaporates outside the tube, and the liquid refrigerant flows and cools in the tube. Compared with dry evaporators, flooded evaporators have many disadvantages. First, the refrigerant charge is large. For expensive refrigerants, this disadvantage is particularly prominent. Secondly, when the diameter of the evaporator shell is larger, the evaporation temperature of the bottom liquid will be increased, reducing the heat transfer temperature difference of the evaporator. No matter which evaporator is selected, its refrigerant needs to be closed in a closed cycle, that is, it does not come into contact with the air, which is less corrosive to the equipment in the system. Volatile refrigerants can be used, which will not absorb moisture in the air. Rather diluted. However, an expansion vessel needs to be set up in the refrigerant system to eliminate the pressure change caused by the volume change when the temperature of the refrigerant changes.